journey becomes detailed.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Hello listeners, I'm Andreas Klippe again, and in the last 2 episodes of this short series I talked about a hydrological study and an engineering assessment to protect the manufacturing site in the Philippines. That is my example, the country with its 25 annual typhoons. Let us just summarize what it was and what it is about. I want to take you again on the journey of Michael Thompson. He works in a manufacturing company. The site has a size of about 46,000 square meters, pretty huge, huh? And it's located in the south of Metro Manila. They produce electronic components inside for the car manufacturing, for the car industry. And the employee, Michael Thompson, who is a kind of director at the business development management, receives an instruction from his boss: find a solution for flood protection to protect the premises, the compound of the factory. And Michael's challenge begins with an urgent assignment to develop a flood protection plan for the company he works for in the Rainy Sea region of Manila with heavy rainfall. Always a constant threat. A solid, effective solution is really urgently needed. And the insurance company is pushing for it as well, but it's not just about the insurance company, it's about the safety of the company itself, about keeping the business running, about keeping the jobs of all employees, including the management, safe. Because you can imagine what will happen if such a factory is completely flooded. That is a disaster, and it can be that they simply close. Michael began his journey with a hydrological study, and he wanted to know how high the flood risk was. So several critical aspects were analyzed in this hydrological study: water cycle analysis, terrain and topography study, precipitation and runoff data, water balance equation, flood frequency analysis, and hydrologic modeling. And what was next? The next step was the engineering assessment. I always say the hydrological study is just describing the threat, is describing what was in the past. And you might consider the future, but that will not, the future is never what happened in the past. It's always your own future. And it depends on the modeling they are using. So that's data from the past. Once the hydrological data is available, the next critical phase is really the engineering assessment. And I will explain in a moment what exactly the engineering assessment is. But let's repeat what I've said before. The hydrological study can really help you. But it is like when you are sick and you go to a nurse and the nurse is telling you, oh, you are sick, you have a cough, you have a flu, better you stay in bed. But I think you should go to a doctor because your cough is really serious. I don't know, perhaps something with your lungs. And then you go to the doctor and you ask him immediately, hey, doctor, how much is my treatment? How much to become healthy again? So the doctor will not will not answer to this question because he is not able to answer to this question yet. So he will investigate your body. Yeah? Open your mouth, say ah. Then he is taking the stethoscope and checking your lungs and so on and so forth. So measuring the temperature. Do you have a fever? Yes or no? And then you get a recipe based on the findings of the doctor. And with a recipe, you go to the pharmacy. Then you buy your medicaments. Then you take the medicaments and you treat your body well. And then one day you are not sick anymore. And you are back to normal life. You can enjoy the barbecue at the weekend with your friends or the family. So that's so. And I always ask not only myself but also the people, why shall it be different when it comes to flood protection? When it comes to the protection of all jobs, all business, all inventory. So of a whole company. Whether it is in this case a manufacturing site, but it can also be a hotel, it can also be a hospital, it can also be a university, a public library, or your private house. Normally private house is easier, but sometimes also complicated. It really depends on the location and on the situation. So then, once again, I ask myself and I ask you, why do we get, and other companies get the same, increase from purchasing departments asking for the price for flood barriers. And at the end it comes out, oh, they forgot 3 entrances. They didn't consider the slopes. They didn't consider the neighbor. They were not aware that there's a connection to the public sewer. So nothing was considered. They think they can just put some barriers in the middle or in front of the doors and gates and openings. That will definitely not protect you. It is very important. Yes, it is. But it will not protect you. That means the real price can double, triple, quadruple or whatever, because you only talk about the tip of the iceberg without knowing what's going on in the soil and what you need to do for your foundation. So that is why this engineering assessment came in. And what was it? I just summarized. The engineering assessment describes and the necessary steps and optimal investments to protect your facility from heavy rain and flooding in your area. That is exactly what the doctor is doing with you when you go to the doctor and you're telling him, hey, I have a flu, I have a cough, I'm not feeling well, can you help me? So the engineering service checks all details such as dimensions, materials of the structures of your walls to be protected, and all possible data required for the smooth installation of flood protection technology. Not to forget, I mentioned that the drainage system, public sewer, spaces, and also consider the operation, not to forget that. And the aim of this engineering assessment is to give answers to the following 3 questions. I just repeated. Question 1, how much and to what extent can and should your landscape, buildings, power lines, pipelines, sidewalks, and facades be changed? Question number 2, which is the right flood protection technology that best suits your requirements? I always mention the top 14 flood barriers in the world. So you have at least 14 different types. And which is the right one for you? And please also consider the operation. Somebody must install them. Somebody must open, close them, whatever, move them. Perhaps they must be stored in case of demountable flood barriers. And that can happen in the middle of the night. Exactly. That was a bit too early. That can happen in the middle of the night. That's why I played this jingle. And when nobody is around, and your flood protection should still work. And question number 3, how much will everything cost? Not only the barriers, but also the ensuing civil works and other accessories like additional or modified drainages and pumps, backflow valves, drain plugs, and so on. So, and the right flood experts, they will work with your team to consider your objections and requirements and needs and reflect on these issues and present the answers. And that will lead to, if they do a good job, that will lead to the 3 results. Result number 1, all construction work required to solve the flood-related problems of your location will be identified. Second, overall investment plan with maximum 3 optional recommendations of the most effective flood protection is proposed. That is the result number 2. So you will get maximum 3 options with a budget. Result number 3 is the necessary budget details are listed for all of these 3 recommendations so that the construction planning department receives reliable investment figures. These results will enable you to reduce your investment costs and avoid wrong decisions. And now it becomes detailed. First, because you have options, but you can still not purchase anything. You have a budget price, yes, but what is missing, that is a detailed engineering. And I looked to Wikipedia just to find the description, and the Wikipedia says detailed engineering are studies which create a full definition of every aspect of a project development. It includes all the studies to be performed before project construction starts. Detailed engineering studies are a key component for every project development across mining, infrastructure, energy, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, oil and gas, of everything. Everything where you have to build something. And a new factory or a new warehouse, a new commercial center, new school, a new building. And in this case, I want to install a flood barrier solution at the manufacturing site. That is my example. And Michael Thompson is a guy, the business development manager, who is responsible. So the hydrological study was done. In part number 1, I described that. The engineering assessment was done with 3 possible solutions. And the company has chosen one solution. I think that was option number 2, and needs the detailed engineering to proceed with the project and to hand it over to the purchasing department. So detailed engineering bridges the gap between conceptual design and actual construction. It entails a series of meticulous tasks that define every aspect of the project in detail, ensuring alignment with the project's objectives and seamless execution. That is the bridge. And I will now just tell the major parts of it. Yes.
Flood Protection Secrets. The podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, I was not prepared that the jingle is ongoing. Always funny. At least I think so. Number 1 is what is a detailed engineering? So there's a preparation of comprehensive documentation. This includes plot plans, piping and instrumentation diagrams, P&ID, process flow diagrams, PFD, 2D, 3D models, isometrics, material takeoff, bill of materials and data sheets. And this documentation serves as a blueprint guiding the transition from initial planning to procurement and construction. Number 2, the process and mechanical engineering. This involves creating process flow diagrams based on material and energy balances, finalizing P&I diagrams, pipe size and pressure drop calculations if needed, equipment layouts, and preparing data sheets for both static and rotary equipment if necessary. And the design is often subject to various standards and codes, ensuring safety and efficiency. Don't forget that. Because the moment you start with a construction at your company, and that happened to us one time, we presented a solution to the owner, and then they suddenly said, oh no, you cannot cut the road and dig deep because the main electric cables are laying underneath this road. Nobody told us before because no plan was available, but somebody remembered. So that means we had to change the whole plan. The whole detailed engineering started from the beginning, and everything had to be done again. Number 3, piping, electrical and instrumentation engineering. This stage involves developing equipment layouts, piping layouts, isometric drawings. That is a little bit like that, what I mentioned with piping layouts to install new drainage systems. You cannot install it if there are electric cables already and disturbing your construction. So the electric engineering includes equipment sizing and specifications, preparation of single line diagrams and laying planning for electrical installations. Instrumentation engineering focuses on instrument data sheets, logic diagrams and installation drawings. It's a little bit annoying and a little bit tiring what I'm explaining here, but I want to show it and please present it to your superior, to the general management, to the purchasing director, that these things are essential, because it is not just planting a new tree in your garden. That is the installation of flood protection technology. It can be very simple. It must not be that complicated how I describe it, but we talk about a 46,000 square meter big construction company, and they produce electronic parts for the car industry, and they export worldwide. So that means if something's going wrong and they have to close at least for one day, they might lose millions of dollars already. And they might lose customers, they might lose trust. So that is why please do it in a correct way, because your whole business relies on it. Number 4 of step 4, or content 4 of the detailed engineering is the civil and structural engineering. And then in this phase, you focus on the structural design of the facility, and that can include the design of process and utility buildings, storage tanks, and other structures, ensuring they can withstand various environmental conditions and loads. We had this case one time. There was a oil pipeline that was the oil for the company. And they used it to produce energy. And this pipe was laying next to a wall, and this wall had to be renewed because it was not stable enough to withstand the water pressure from the neighborhood. So that means we at the same time had to come up with a design how to relocate the whole oil distribution piping inside this compound of the company. So then number 5, it's a 3D modeling and as-built drawing. So modern engineering heavily relies on 3D modeling, of course, for error detection and optimization before actual construction. As-built drawings are crucial for tracking changes during construction and for future reference. And the last is a procurement engineering. This involves preparing technical specifications, evaluating bids, and ensuring timely delivery of components without compromising quality. And that is what the procurement department really needs. And but they very often start without having all this data, and they think the flood barriers alone will do it. And I always say, no, the flood barriers are really essential. And I like that you purchase some and then you install it. But how can it be installed if there are obstacles and you cannot install it properly? You cannot operate it properly because all things are missing. The drainage is not enough, and the electrical cables are not at the right location and must be relocated. So that is really essential procurement engineering at the end of the day. So Michael's story can illustrate the importance of each of these stages in bringing the chosen flood barrier solution to life. And today's episode emphasizes the precision, coordination, and expertise required in detailed engineering to ensure the flood protection system is effective, durable, and integrates seamlessly with the existing manufacturing site. That was a lot today. So let's just conclude and thank you for listening, because that was a little bit scientific today. And Michael's methodical approach, starting with part 1, hydrological study, illustrates the importance of a sound scientific basis for flood protection. Then part 2 was the engineering assessment of flood protection, which provided him maximum 3 options for possible flood protection scenarios with the expected construction work and costs for appropriate financial planning. And part 3, this one described in this flood protection secrets episode, it described the detailed engineering, the detailed planning. And finally, part 4 will describe the execution of the output of all these studies, the purchasing and installation of the right flood protection system at the premises of Michael Thompson's manufacturing company in the south of the mega city of Metro Manila in the Philippines. The country with 25 annual typhoons and a lot of heavy rain. And we'll see how that works in the next episode. But there's one golden nugget. Building such infrastructure isn't just about engineering work. It is also about compliance and environmental responsibility. So Michael's team now must navigate through various regulatory frameworks and conduct environmental impact assessments to ensure their plans align with legal and ecological standards. We wanted to create an underground water storage tank, a huge one, at one compound for one factory. And that was related to the food business. And then we learned that we were not allowed to cut one tree because we needed the space, and all the roots of the tree would disturb, of course, the underground water tanks. It's very dangerous to have trees close to buildings with basements, because the roots of the trees will definitely destroy the building structure, and then water can get in, and so on and so forth. And we learned that inside this economic zone, cutting a tree requires planting additional 101 trees. Okay, you can do that, but the company didn't want. I would have taken this opportunity, plant 101 trees somewhere, do a good job, and cut this one old tree and go ahead with your solution, because it becomes more expensive now to change the detailed engineering. But okay, the decision was to keep this tree. So that is my golden nugget. So if Michael's story has inspired you to rethink your approach to flood protection, stay tuned for more episodes like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights from the world of flood protection. And as always, stay safe and flood free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering. German quality. Safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.